Hello, everyone. It's Linda from Linda Z's for a Thursday morning coffee or tea or a wonderful sewing little project. And again, maybe you're coming home from work tonight and you're sitting down and listening to this. And I have some techniques that are, I think, really kind of cool because the things that we're doing today are going to be used on any sewing machine that you have. Now, I know how many of you have more than one machine. I see them raising their hands all over the place. Why do you think it's important to have more than one machine? We've talked about this before, and I think many of you know. Yep, right, because when your machine is in for service, then you have one that you can work on. Also, you may be embroidering or quilting or doing a label on one, and then you can be sewing on the other one and piecing. There are many, many reasons to have two machines, but I know some of you out there that are listening are new sewers, have not done a lot of sewing yet. You started out with the mask, which we think are really fun. I'm glad you did. However, you've enjoyed it and then wanted to go on to something else. So we want you to know that we have a huge selection of machines that start at $129 and go all the way up to, in your price range around $600–700, and of course way up. But we have that entry-level price point because we know that there are many people that want to do just some simple little things. They don't want to get into too much, but they want a little stress relief. And that's what I'm going to show you today. I'm working on Baby Lock today. Baby Lock has some wonderful techniques for doing some things that I think you're going to like in home dec. It's very simple. It's going to be something that, again, even if you don't have a Baby Lock, if you have a Juki or you have a Fop or a Viking or a Bernina or a Brother, you can do all of these techniques. The only thing I want to warn you about is that our entry-level machines, the ones that are between the $129 and probably $599, will be sold out before the holiday. I know many of you at Christmas time you do give gifts for younger people and maybe even yourself. Don't wait. I have never said that before, for maybe some certain models. I'm sure many of you that all over the world, this isn't just in the Chicago area, Illinois area, the Midwest, the whole entire United States, Canada, Mexico, and the international world. We are sold out of sewing machines. It's just amazing to me what's happened. I think people are home more. They're wanting to, try some of these fun things and have a little fun with it, create something, and then it kind of blocks out whatever else is going on in your world. So take advantage of this. We have, at least 8 or 9, maybe more than that, on our website that are called uncovered machines that we actually can sell on the website. And of course, many in our store. This little Zeal, which I think is a wonderful machine, and you're going to see that with the project that I'm doing, is just a honey. It's a real workhorse and it's not expensive. We will be sold out within the next month, I'm sure. We have been just majorly going through hundreds of machines, and we want you to be able to see what you can do. If you've already got one of these, I know a lot of you do, you're going to have fun with this. Now, what I'm going to start out with, and I'll talk about some other things as we go through this, but I want you to learn how to do a simple edge. My video last week, I showed this, which was the tablecloth, and I think you all saw this when I did it. And this was done on a Bernina serger, that 850 serger, which is just a wonderful, wonderful machine. And you can see all of the edges on here are done with a 2-thread wrap. And that was using this, either this or this. I'll reach over and show you. You can see this is the candlelight, which I really like. And this is your razzle dazzle, and this is the dazzle part of it. There's also a razzle. And they are just really fun threads that we work with. And then this is the glide, or you could use, like I'm doing today on the machine, you can see right up here, this is actually a 40 weight embroidery thread. Now, when you do an edge on whether it's going to be a tablecloth, if you don't have a serger, and I know as we talked, and we get wonderful feedback, and I really want to thank you because that helps me to know what I want to do with you when we go to the next level of our events and whatnot. But what I did is I heard from a couple of people that said, I want to make these tablecloths. I want to do these napkins because I want my grandchildren to learn how to have a little bit of culture in their life, and rather than just paper all the time. and throw it in the machine and throw it in the hot water, and it's very sanitized. But they don't have a serger yet. And maybe, you know, you're just getting into sewing, you're not sure if you want to do that. So I've come up with this program today to show you, you could finish this tablecloth without having a serger. You can finish this tablecloth and these napkins, and I don't think I've got them out here. I don't know, Nick, if we can film, can we get in on that, these napkins, and I push them in here? I'll bring them in so you can kind of see them. This is a whole set of napkins that are already finished. They're done with a real simple, fine edge, and you can do all kinds of things with them. You can fold them, you can make them into fun little, you know, like a little tie. You can put the silverware in it. You can stick it into a goblet or into a water glass. There are just some really fun things you can do with these. And if you notice, this is the edge that we're going to do today. It's very, very fine. It's very hard to even see it because it's so well finished. And another thing I want you to notice and look at, this is, I'm going to turn it over, this is one layer. Watch again. There's the top, and here's the wrong side. And it's just one layer. And the edges will not fray because they have been sewn on this little Zeal, and it is just a wonderful, wonderful napkin edge or placemat, or if you're going to do a table runner. Now, behind me, hanging up on our tulas, and we still do have a couple tulas, I even have a fun little table runner for Halloween that is really cute. It's got the little pumpkins on it. I'll bring it over here so you can see it. In fact, I have a pumpkin on my shirt today. You probably have noticed that. And I'm wearing the Cantha jacket. And look at all the different designs and colors on it. The Cantha is a jacket that we are doing. Betsy, one of our wonderful educators, has been teaching these jackets. And they're made out of, they're hundreds of years old quilts. And they don't have batting in them, but they're all hand stitched. And she teaches you how to make one of these really exclusive couture jackets, and that's what I'm wearing. And then again, the pumpkin, which is kind of fun on the front, just peeks out. So here's another way of using a little pumpkin, and that is with a table runner. Now, I did put borders on this. We're going to show this in another video. My sister Carol, who some of you know, I have quite a few sisters that are wonderful sewers, and she actually has a pattern she's designed for this, so I may give that to you in another future video. But if you didn't want to, if you're not a quilter and you didn't want to do a border edge, you could do just what we're talking about here on any of your table runners with this fine edge stitch. Now, what kind of threads do we use? So I'm going to take this one that's done on the Bernina 850 out of here. That's the one that was done on the serger. And you can see the reason that I wanted this color is because it really does, it's got kind of a bronzy color and it goes with it. Now, I didn't have enough fabric, and this is something that you'll find many times as you're doing, because many people ask me, well, what size do you do when you're cutting your fabric? This one, I'll show you on here, is about 13 inches, and I always make them square, 13 by 13. And the reason that I am doing it singly on here is because I'm doing the single edge. But I could have done, if I'd had more fabric, and then the edge would look a little bit different, I could have done this, which I'm also going to be using on this tablecloth. And if you look at this, you see it's got two layers now? There's one here and one here. So I have two layers. And what I'm going to do on this is I'm going to do a 3-thread rolled hem. I'm going to actually, on my serger, put 3 threads. A needle thread, and I will use 2 of the Dazzle or 2 of the Candlelight and run them through the tubes automatically. And then I'll have a much thicker thread, which will look like this. You see that? So it's got gold all the way around it. You can see on the back it's got a real nice finish too. It's a little wider. I did you could do a narrower one, but I wanted that gold to show up because you can see again on this fabric, get the red out of here, you can see how the napkin is just it matches. It's not the 2-thread wrap. A 2-thread wrap is a little more fragile, and that's why I like the 3-thread narrow over edge, the rolled hem, because it will stay, because napkins you're going to really wash and throw in the machine over and over. The other thing I do on all of this fabric that we're doing today, before I cut my fabric out, especially when they're linens, table linens, I throw them in the dryer, first in the machine, and just run them through a real quick cycle, but at least it'll take it like it's going to regularly wash it. And then I take it out of the machine and put it in the dryer, and I put it on real hot heat because I don't know always who's going to throw these. You know, many times I give these as gifts, and I don't know how they're going to wash them. That way it's shrunk completely. I don't have to worry about it, and I know we're not going to have any trouble with it. So that's that stitch. Now, I'm going to show you, I'm not going to show you this one with the double, but I just wanted to show you the idea. Those of you that don't want to do a fine edge stitch, you certainly can take your serger and people ask me all the time, why do you put two rows together, two fabrics together? It's really a wonderful dinner napkin. I always do an 18-inch square when I'm doing 2 rows and I'm going to use my serger. When I am doing 1 row, I would normally, like I'm doing on the machine today, I would normally do an 18-inch napkin also, but as I told you, I ran out of fabric. And you probably know by now, if you know anything about me, that even in my own store, when I come in and I tell the staff I'm doing a project and could you cut me, you know, a yard or 2 of fabric, they always in my bag, I always find it's at least 3 yards, because they know I did something like this. I wanted the 3 yards, but when I originally took it home, I had a yard. Of course, I liked it. I was going to try it. And then I went back to get it, and there was only a yard left. So again, I don't have enough to do everything, but I can still use it because I made them smaller, and now they are little cocktail napkins. And, you know, they're really fun when the kids are having cheese and crackers or whatever before dinner, and I put these napkins out, and my kids always go, Mom, they don't need cloth napkins. I say, they do, because they need to learn how to do a little bit of fun things in life when they're at my house anyway. So let's get started. I want to show you, I'll talk about these threads in a minute, but before I do, I want to actually show you the stitch. Now, what I've done here is I've got a regular zigzag foot, which is really wonderful because you can see on the machine, it's a metal zigzag foot, and it's the edge of the fabric, and it's just one layer. I've trimmed it with a rotary cutter, and there is a new rotary cutter out there. It's Tula Pinks. In fact, I have some of her scissors, the titaniums here, that are really fun to see and work with. And these titaniums are really nice because I have a bunch of them over here. There's another one that's got the applique stitch. And this one I have hanging under here is my little clip thread scissor, and I really like that too. So you really can, you know, you do want a really good scissor that you're going to work with when you're doing this. The foot, again, it depends on your machine, but I like a foot. This is the regular zigzag foot that comes with this machine. Now this is another foot that comes with the Baby Lock Solaris. And you see how it's got a clear opening, and again, there's an opening in the middle. And it is really a wonderful foot too. It's an end foot because you can go right down the center, and the zigzag is going to go back and forth, and it's going to literally almost bring it underneath as it's sewing. In fact, I have a sample here that you can see as I'm sewing. I didn't go right to the edge because I wanted to show you. I don't know if the camera can get in there this close. But it is, maybe I can bring it up here and you can see it. You see how there's about an 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch that it has rolled under, and you can see that going down the edge. And then I stopped at the end so you could see it. And again, there's about about 1/8 of an inch that's left. And that's what's been rolled over as I'm doing this stitch. So now let's do it so you can see what I'm doing as I'm sewing. I have in the bobbin the same thread as the top because I want this to really be a stitch that is going to be very, very easy to look at on both sides of the fabric. Now do you see it's going right over the edge? You can kind of see it back here. See how pretty that is? And if you can't see that, I have one that's already done. And you can see, I'm going to turn it over so you can kind of see it. I put a yellowish gold on there. And the same thread, it doesn't make it almost look green, which is amazing until you turn it over. See, now it looks green. Over here it almost looks yellow. And you really want to have fun with the colors that you're putting on here. This is a 40 weight Floriani thread at the top. And in my bobbin, if you can see it here, it's the same yellow, and it is a 40 weight thread also. And this is what is going to give you this really nice fine stitch. And I don't press this over or anything. I just sew it, and I'll go off the edge because I want you to see this. There is something called a leader, a little leader cloth. Some people call it a cheater cloth. And I know I cut a bunch of them. And when you're chain stitching and you're piecing, a lot of times you'll have this. Well, I'm working with one layer of fabric, so my little cheater piece is only one layer too. Now watch what happens when I go off the end of this. You see where the needle is? It's literally off the fabric. Now I'm going to take my little tulip pink scissor here and cut it so you can see it. See how nice that is? And up close, maybe you can see it a little bit better. I don't know if you can get it. Yeah. Okay. All right, there you can see the edge of it, real nice. And it's just, again, a real fine rolled edge. You can see it up here on my hand. And see how pretty that looks? It's a kind of a greenish color when you look over here. And on the back, it's also kind of a greenish. On this particular one, because this fabric is so unusual when you go to use it, I have, like I said, this bright gold up here and bright gold in the bobbin, but it still is going to work very well. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that corner, and now do you see I have my little cheater cloth on there? And if I did have this, I could go right up to the edge, but this is still, because of the cheater cloth, it's going to work really nice. You see how it's finishing the edge? Part of the needle is off of the fabric, and the other part is on the fabric. So it's swinging over the edge of the fabric. It's actually in the air. See how we're going? And then I'll just continue on down. Now, this is not a new trick. This is something we've done forever. See that little cheater cloth? And look what a nice stitch that makes. And you can see now I have a nice little mitered edge at the end. And that's what I've done on these napkins. I have done a nice mitered edge, but something that I always do, and I showed you in the last video, I always take a little tip, a little tiny drop of the fray check, and I put it right on the end here. And then I do it on all four corners. I drape it over a table or somewhere to let it dry so it gets nice and dry. And then after it's really strongly dried, I'll show you what I do. This one isn't completely, it's got a little tip on it because this is a brand new scissor. And I don't know if you can see this real carefully on here, but I'm going to cut that. You see how I cut that little tip off? Just got rid of that, and now it's a perfect mitered corner. And it was a little strong and a little thick because I had put the drop of fray check on there, and I just mitered that corner perfectly. And you'd never know that I actually cut that off. This will not fray. You can throw this in the washer, the dryer, and you won't have any trouble with it at all. Now, you know, if you wanted to miter the corners like a regular miter where you go off and put your needle down on the fabric and then turn it and go off, you could do that, but you really don't need to with this little technique of doing your fabric like this. When I get into this, and I'm going to show you on another, I didn't bring them all here. Well, I do have them in my basket, but it looked too messy on the table. I think I have 125 of these little cocktail napkins, and they're all done with the tiny little fine edge, and it's done with a really thick thread so I can show it real easily. And this is a little heavier fabric than what this is, so it's going to get the satin stitcher. Your settings on an edge stitch like this would be, if your machine goes from 0 to 5 or 0 to 7 or 9, it's about a 3 because you don't want it too wide of a zigzag. And your stitch length is anywhere between 0.5 and about 1. Again, it's a satin stitch. It's very fine. So the kind of foot that you're using is going to be important for what you're doing. And I'm going to show you a couple other brands and what they do. This is the baby lock for the Solaris, and it's a real wonderful, it's an add-on foot, but you see this, let's see if you can show it over here. Can you see it in here at all? Maybe I'll move it over here a little bit. See that little clip there? And if I turn it on the bottom, you can see the black piece that's out there. Well, this is something that I could use with not only this edge stitch, but with cording. I could take this thread and I could run it along that edge, and it's even got a little hole in the foot. And this is called their move it foot or dual feed foot. It's just absolutely wonderful. And you see how the thread now is running? Okay. See how it's running right against that black blade? And that same zigzag is what I would use. Just off the air, back on the fabric, off on the air. And it would just cover the cord. And I know I have a sample here of one of them that I've done that way. And it just gives you a little bit of a stronger looking. I would use the cord if I'm doing a tablecloth. I don't usually use the cord when I'm doing the napkins, but again, it's your personal preference. Now, another thing that you could use, on most sewing machines, there's a blind hem foot. And on the blind hem foot, you will see that that blind hem has got that same little bit of a curve, and you can see here, see how it's got the blade right there, but it doesn't go into the zigzag opening. So that blade, again, is what I could use this cord for. And you see, I can bring it right down in there, pull it in there, and then I run that along the blade of the foot, and then the zigzag just goes right over the cording, and so it lays right on the edge of the napkin or your tablecloth. Now here's another foot that I think this is a Bernina one. Now people would think that this was a crazy one to use because you see the little grooves in the bottom. This is actually a manual buttonhole foot. And everybody says, well, I would never make manual buttonholes. Well, maybe you wouldn't, but this is wonderful for doing just what we did here, because what it actually does is it rolls that extra little bit of fabric without you having to press it. You just rolls it in, and it sews right along it and gives it a really, really wonderful edge because of the grooves. And you could put your cording in there if you wanted to use it. Now there's many types of cording feet that would work. Here's another one, like I said, that's the where there's a clear opening right here. Again, when you have a middle positioning, that's really nice for you to see, but your needle will not be in the middle position. One of the things you got to remember when you're doing this fine edge stitching is, I'm sure most of you on all your machines, now on this particular one, I did not move the needle position over because the foot has got this wonderful opening and a little edge opening that will go right over the zigzag. Now many times on feet like this Bernina one that I had, here, this one, you can see that it's got an opening in here, and and there's actually 3 little prongs in the front. I would take that and bring it over to the left, and over to the right, and I would take my zipper or my needle positioning and move it all the way to the left, and then it will kind of roll the fabric as it's going along. So one of the key things that you'll learn if you start to make a couple of these is, make some samples so you can see what you like. If you love the color, if you like what it's doing, you might want to shorten the stitch or lengthen the stitch. But one of the things that you will learn is exactly where to position it. It's really easy. It is not a hard thing to do, and I hope you'll have fun doing it. These are some of the threads that I told you that we can use in all these. These are the Razzle Dazzle and the Candlelight that I'd use probably for cording when I would do this. On the actual edge stitch, I like to use, this one is Glide, and on the machine is actually the Floriani. We have the Madeira, we have lots of other ones. The Isacord is just wonderful too. The other thing that you could use is something called woolly nylon. It's almost impossible to find today. It's woolly nylon. We do have a similar product that we do carry too in our store, but the woolly nylon is my favorite for when I'm doing an edge stitch. I didn't do it on here because I wanted to show you a real simple one, But if you're doing a serger stitch and you're going to do the 2 layers of fabric like I showed you before, then I would definitely put this woolly nylon in your lower looper. It is just beautiful. It rolls the edge right away and it just gives you a really, really good stitch. Of course, I have my Wonder Clips on here. You don't need them when you're doing this because you're not pressing. You could, if you wanted to do a napkin, you could take your iron, and I've got my wonderful Laura Star over here, and I'm going to pull it over here. Maybe I'll just get rid of this for us for a minute and put it over here. And then what I'm going to do is bring this pad over and show you how nice this stir, and I don't know if it's gone off yet because we haven't used it. The wonderful thing about this, it has an automatic shut off. And I put another piece of fabric here that I wanted you to see because I want you to see how easily you can use this candlelight. As many of you know, I love the candlelight and I love the razzle dazzle. Those are my favorites that I use all the time. But look at the back or the front. It's got a little bit of a glitter on it, and it's a 2-thread rolled hem. So I could use this with just a 2-thread in needle thread in my serger and a lower looper. Or I could do it on my Zeal, and I could take and put this candlelight on the top and put regular thread in the bottom, and you'll get a different look. So this is what's fun about experimenting with the threads. You'll see, and one of the things that I did with this is I just put it down and I pressed it, so it really, really was a wonderful, it pressed all, see how nice and flat that is now? This Laura Star iron is, and you probably noticed I've used it in every single one of the videos because I think it really is the best that is on the market, and it will really give you the results that you want. Now I have a couple of other things that I wanted to, wrote it down so I wouldn't forget it for you, and that's our quilt week. And we're almost filled, so I do want you to know that. Quilt week is something we do in November every year. We've done it for many years. Even with the COVID, we are definitely going to do it. We do the social distancing. We have the tables very far apart, and you have to wear your masks, which is always fun, but very important for sanitization. But one of the things that everybody's asked me is, well, Kay England is, as you know, a friend of mine, and I just love her to death. She's just taught me more precision quilting than anybody that I know. And Kay is going to be there. She comes in for a guest appearance on Thursday in the afternoon, and then Friday and Saturday we really get into it. And she's doing an AccuQuilt this year. Now, the question I've had is, well, I've signed up for Kay, which she has not changed her price for, I think, 10 years. It's $299 for her retreat, which I think is just marvelous. What we did, we added on, and it's 10 days. It starts on a Friday with Jerry Granata from Brother. Then it goes to some Bernina people. It goes to some FOP. And I mean, it's just amazing what we're going to be doing. The whole entire week, and you can come to as many or as few as you want, is only $399. Now, that's not above Kay England's $299. It's together with Kay. You get Kay, you get the whole entire 10 days for $399. And if you just come to Kay, it's $299. If you do the whole thing and Kay, it's $399. So I hope I made that clear. Maybe you're watching this way after Kay's event, but hopefully she will be here in 2021, in 2022, right, Kay? And many times after. So we are going to actually do a live presentation with Kay. We'll notify you when that is, and hopefully we'll get her in her backyard with her llamas and her goats, and she can kind of show you some of the things that she's been doing. So don't miss out on that. Again, it's just one of my favorite things that we do. Probably the last thing that I want to talk about is our we have a Super Saturday sale coming up this coming Saturday. Those of you that have been looking at that new Bernina with the 850 and the 890. 890s are not in yet, but there are many people that are on the list, and you're going, as we get them in, you will get them in according to the number that you purchased. So you can do the 72 months. It's just amazing what they're doing. It's 72 months with 0% interest, and it's for one day only. It's next Saturday on October 17th. Now, I think I might have covered Nick. I put him on microphone because I wanted to make sure I didn't forget some. Usually my daughter's here helping, but this is my grandson.
Hello.
Nicola, have we...
Yeah, we're getting close to the 30-minute mark, so I think we're...
Oh, it's more than 10 minutes, sorry. Okay, all right, everyone. He says it's time to cut, whatever. Okay, enjoy the day. Thank you so much for supporting our videos. You guys are just amazing. I originally thought if even 10 people would be watching this, it would be great. We have almost close to, I know, 30,000.
Yeah, we get around 1,000 people that watch us weekly, so that's pretty cool.
At least. So we're very fortunate, and it's only because of you guys. So keep letting us know what you like, and we'll try to accommodate you. Thanks so much. Have a great day, everyone.